Is that yours or school's?
It's mine.
Nice. I have the same one. I really like it. Yeah.
It's really helpful. I use it for school a lot. So
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. Okay, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm super duper excited to get started. So obviously, I kind of just want to know the story of how you became a denturist and eventually opened up West Point Denture. So just explain your story with that.
So, I never knew I was going to be a denturist. I always grew up just seeing what my biggest passion would be and where life would take me.
Mm-hmm.
And it went from like dance to sports to law enforcement to sales, and I had no idea. But getting more into understanding the profession, and that would come from my dad because he's been in the profession for so long that his 50 years of knowledge and giving to the community, giving to patients and his workforce, and just making those connections over time. Really, he was always my dad, so I just looked at him as a dad.
Right.
But when I started learning about what options were and what the industry was like, since my sister's into it too, I said, okay, it would be something interesting to see if it would be for me and what I would like about it, or if it would even be something that I would want to pursue. And in the beginning, I tried to find my own way, and I said, oh, I'm gonna take electives and prerequisites and play sports and dance and go travel and just find what I want to do, find me. And it came down to the point where after seeing what type of impact this type of profession has, and it's not so much the work but what you give to people out of it, I've always wanted to be able to make an impact on everyone's lives, right? And be like, okay, I'm changing one person's life. And seeing that happen like multiple times, and seeing how people are just so thankful for how much you put your heart into something. And not only this, but everything, this particularly made me feel really, really impactful. And so seeing that the pathway that I had that was set already, that all the opportunities and what I can learn from, and it was a no-brainer for me to want to at least try it. And so that's when I started getting into learning how to get the education for it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's what I didn't know. I was going to be a denturist. I didn't know if I would like it. If I didn't like it, I probably would have just stopped and been like, this was cool to try, and it was a good experience. But the moment I started feeling like I'm actually studying for something that I'm going to be specialized to do, before all the electives and all the other classes that I was taking, I didn't really feel a purpose. I was like, okay, this is for this, or this is for that. This is to get my diploma or my degree. And I didn't really know why I was studying it and what it was for. I was feeling like I was just learning how to learn. Right? With these type of classes, I'm I'm learning how to learn. And then that transcribed even more when it came into dental. So as a dental technician, as a denture, so learning specifically what is so niche and so catered to tooth numbers, surfaces, everything to do with the dental industry, like from start to finish on every little aspect, was so interesting because there was a specific study and a specific reason why everything is done. And learning that was just breaking ground to understand what to do when you're in the industry. So I was really interested in actually feeling like what I was learning had purpose. And I was like, okay, finally I'm learning something that I'm actually translating into a profession and into what I'm going to be doing. And I felt pretty lost before that. I was like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was enrolled in being a VPD and police officer, right? In a camp, and I was ready to start in a week before I got a call saying I'm accepted to learn the program. So I just stopped everything and tried that, and that's where it started from.
Do you feel like this, like in your case, like do you feel like this job is like more like something fun for you rather than it being just kind of like a job?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the reason being is because there's just something new all the time. So you're comfortable as it is, but every single person you see, every single case you treat is always different. You're never gonna have the exact same type of feeling or type of case in front of you. Every single person is unique in their way, so it's never a dull moment. It gets overwhelming because there's a lot if you start dealing and start treating a lot of people, then it becomes overwhelming, but it's never boring.
Right.
That's the thing, ever.
love
So
that. Yeah.
that's why it definitely feels like it's for me for that.
That's amazing. I love that. Cool. What was it like starting and running your own denture clinic as a Fijian Canadian in the Lower Mainland? And did you encounter any memorable challenges, which you've probably talked about earlier, or successes in when you first started?
Right.
Yeah.
So starting any business, whether it's a denture clinic or any type of business on your own, is always a really risky and really sensitive area of life where you just don't know what exactly you're getting into if it's your first time opening a business. So under me having a little bit of studying as my electives in microeconomics, macro and business and admin, and understanding a little bit of the business side of things really helped in terms of what type of foundation I wanted to build and how I wanted to do it. But coming from an immigrant family and taking risk and needing a lot of support and a lot of funds to be able to start something that isn't cheap to start right away for a former student who didn't have a lot to kind of just put in and say let's risk it kind of thing. It took a lot of kind of, I guess, preparation and also support from everyone around me to say, okay, if this is what you're going to do, then having that support there. And I think when it comes down to financial, it hits a little bit harder and a little more, you just feel, I wouldn't say nervous, but you just feel like there's a lot more involved when you have a lot of finance in your whole life put into it. So as an immigrant and as a first-time business owner, and people look at me as a kid when I started, right? I was in my 20s and I was just gonna say, okay, I'm fresh, but I want to try something. I think that one of the best things that I could have done was learn from a mentor and have a apprentice and kind of be under the wing of someone really well developed first. And I was lucky enough to have multiple opportunities under our family, under our friends who are in the industry, and mutual friends who are there to kind of show me what the industry is like before I actually got into it. So I knew that I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know if I wanted to be an owner of multiple clinics and try to do things the way I wanted to do things. Because I could have worked for somebody and still be working for someone and done it their way. But when I found out the ways I felt like I could improve service and improve product and improve patient experience, is when I said, okay, if this is the way I want to get things done, the only way I can is if I do it myself and have a supporting team that is taught and experienced and learned from the way I'd like to get things done. So I started, that's when it was almost 5 to 6 years in the industry before actually starting by myself. And then I felt like you wanted to practice and get as comfortable as you can. You don't just want to start something and someone will come through the door and you have no idea what you're doing. So I got to the point where I felt comfortable enough where majority of things that came through the door I'd be comfortable with just doing. And you're always learning every single case, everything that you do, but I felt comfortable enough where I could be on my own and I didn't need, I would still always ask for support, but I didn't need that on the daily basis, case by case. And so being able to provide that and opening a clinic and being just at that time someone who was young and inexperienced really was a high stress factor at the point, because even people who came in would be like, oh, who's the owner and who runs everything, and it'd be like, oh, I'm the owner, I'm the specialist, and be like, oh, I don't want someone this young working on me. I want someone who's been doing this for 50, 60 years. I want them working on me. And then it's totally understandable because that was the mentality, and there's still that mentality. But after being able to speak and give the knowledge behind what we're doing and how we provide that service, it's up to the patient and who's being treated to say, okay, I'm confident and I do want to work with you regardless of your age, your experience, or what you are. I just feel confident putting myself in your hands to be treated. And then it slowly started growing, and then one word turns into another word, one referral, and someone says this was such a great experience, turned into someone else. And then not only in the industry but in the patients and online, people were just really the exposure was great. So everyone started saying, even though he's half the age of all the other clinics around, You should just go and experience it and see it, and that's where it grew from.
That's amazing.
So it's been from there. It went from being really worried to now worried about having too much, which is a really good problem to have at the moment.
Yeah.
And trying to scale it and try to understand the business side of things are more where the challenges are now, because it's just the volume is just so high now with the need and the niche of the market that now we're trying to figure out how we can get everything done versus being worried if there wasn't going to be enough work before. Yeah, so that's how and that's all within the 5 to 7 years.
That's crazy.
Yes, and that's where we are now. So it feels good. It feels good.
With your situation, I know you said you had a lot of mentors that helped you out. I'm assuming there was a variety of mentors that helped you out throughout the years. Like, do you have some examples of like what fields did? Was it specifically in the business field, or it could have been something completely different that kind of motivated you?
It would mostly be catered to dentistry. So I would start out just at my father's lab, and there would be different people in different kind of areas of the field that got to show me what they do, what their role is, and it was a 40 to 50 person lab, so it was a pretty big lab that had high volume and a lot of different staff working in their own way. So I got to see kind of the gist of everything there and how that worked. And then specializing more into the industry, I got to work with my sister for a little while, and she had a partner and she had a staff member. And then I got to work with one of her mutual connections that really needed somebody at the time. And then from there, I got another connection through them. So everyone who was just saying we need some help, or we want to see if there's anyone available to work for us, do it our way. I kind of got to learn all the different people's ways and then combine what I like from all of them and make it my own. So it wasn't just one way or the other way. It was kind of getting experience everywhere till I can make it the way I want. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really, really helpful. Understanding the business part of things is a totally different world than the actual industry, the dental industry. But yeah, they work. That's why I realized something really important is some people would be a great business partner or really good in the business mindset, but not necessarily there for the industry of dentistry. So you can have a really good denturist, a really good dental technician, a really good dentist, but they might not understand the business side of things from running it. So you'll often see an office administrator or the owner of the business, and then you'll also see associates and staff who are just working, doing the day-to-day type of treatments, but not on the business side. So trying to balance that both out turned into something really exciting for me as well, being able to do both. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Here's another one. So how would you describe your like cultural identity aspect of this, and how do you see it influencing the way that you work or run your business? Maybe like some values that you had, or anything of that sort.
Yes, culturally, as I guess an immigrant who I was born in Canada, but parents who are not. They're originally from Fiji. They came to Canada with quite cultured themselves, where it was a big culture shock for them, and I think that just from them, kind of being part of the culture in Canada and us being born here, really helped with being able to have an identity that was still Canadian, but from an immigrant family. So opening up a new business and people coming here would say, oh, you're not, they would ask me, where are you from? And I'd be like, oh, I'm actually born Canadian, so I'm from here. And then you'd just say, oh, wow, like they'd be surprised. They'd be like, okay, you were born here. But then I'd say, but my parents are from Fiji, or from, and let them know that my parents were immigrants here at an earlier age. And translating that over to people here isn't as challenging as I thought it would be, because there's a pretty big immigrant-based businesses, and a lot of people understand that it's not just people who are born here that have businesses, or people they're used to seeing that are who they work with, as long as the communication factor was there. So they said, okay, we definitely know that you, like when they were speaking to me on the phone, they had no idea that I wasn't Canadian the way they would he would profile that. But when they saw me and we spoke together, communication was something where they felt very comfortable with, and they can understand, I can understand them, where they come from emotionally, but also exactly what they're saying word for word. There wasn't any discrepancy on that. Also in the area there are immigrants as well, So we deal with everyone and all different types of demographics. So
Yeah.
being able to communicate to make the whoever you're treating or you're speaking to understand, regardless of how you're projecting it, is very important. And that was probably the biggest skill to have, rather than being comfortable with all the work or anything. Communicating was, no matter what it was or who it was, being able to have them understand you fully. That would make them feel a lot more comfortable, and that was the basis of our clinic, where we don't just come in and we just don't just do the work. We go through everything. We speak to the patient so they can understand, and they understand where we're coming from, and they feel a lot more comfortable because we are giving them that further understanding. So communication is definitely the number one thing out of them all.
100%.
There. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, okay. Well, can you walk me through a typical day at your clinic and point out any moments where your personal or cultural style comes through in your work?
So a typical day involves heavily depending on supportive on your team. So it's not, in the beginning, if you coming in alone, being a micromanager, trying to do everything on your own, just doesn't work if you're coming in and starting a business on your own and starting with the volume that we have now. So the first thing would be when in the day is depending to see how my team's doing. So at the front, regardless of what clinic I am, I'm working with, regardless of which staff members are there that day, always seeing how everyone is before we start the day, and how the dynamics are, and if there's anything that needs to be discussed before we start. That gives me a good foundation settling for the day, to be like, okay, I understand everything, I understand where everyone's coming from, and I know what the day looks like and how the team environment is there. So understanding that, and it doesn't even necessarily mean you have to go and ask questions, just feeling when you walk in how everything is, and seeing and looking at the work patterns, looking at things that have been done. So that is how the day would usually start. I just get a good feel of what the day is going to be like, and then from there get briefing on the day. Usually the coordinator, like the patient coordinator, whoever's going to be projecting that day and working with me that day, would just brief me on everyone who's coming in, what they need, what they're booked for, and what we need to, if there's any notes from the other doctors or their physicians that we need to kind of go over. I'll brief myself on all of that before I see them, and then we just start. Before I start with the very first patient, I would check to make sure all the work is ready for the day, so all the cases are there, everything is accounting for, there's nothing outstanding. So it would be checking with the coordinator, checking the day, getting a briefing on that, then coming to the back with the other support staff, the technicians, making sure all the work is ready, or if there's any questions that need to be done, answering that first before we start with the patient work. Because once we're with the patient work, we're almost undisturbed, we're just going. Yeah, so that's how that day would be, and then we would do somewhat of the treatment like we were doing today, but there are so many different types of treatment that we have that these were just a few of the types of treatments that were there, and we would just provide that treatment and rebook as scheduled. And after the patients would be done for the day, like now, we would start the work in the back and start working with our technicians there to get all the work started and finished. So that's how that whole day would be. Yeah, and there's not really, as an owner, there's not a timeline on when we finish. It's more so if your staff are finished and that's their hours. If things aren't done and they need to be done, we're staying behind and we're finishing it, because there's times where there's too much volume, and we need to stay later and get it done. So that would be, and that's right now. Recently, it's been more of that. So I've just been staying back and just getting everything done. That the staff do their best, and we want to make sure that they're comfortable and they're not feeling like overwhelmed or there's too much on their plate. So that dynamic's really important to understand there.
Do you feel like there's moments where like you input your own like personal style that kind of helps you with the work that you do, like something that helps you that you do maybe outside of work that you input into work, like in terms of work habits or something?
Definitely, I think just being in sports and being a leader and just captains of the teams and leadership throughout leadership camps, even just groups that I've had before that, was really important, because it gives you a feeling that someone's depending on you to do your role. And the difference that I'm learning more now is not, you have a role, so no matter what that role is, everyone needs to play their role, and you can't do everyone's for them. So you need to just be prepared and hope that your team is as motivated and as driven as you would want to be to have all of those roles play their part, and you do the best you can in your role. That's all you can do, and then everyone is on the same page there. And having a background of just making sure everyone works as a team is very, very important. So I think everything from the past of working in retail and being part of a big team, playing sports and being part of extracurriculars and communicating with people and knowing your place there, is really big for this type of industry or anything that involves a team. So I would feel that got me to where this kind of point is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. What does being professional mean to you in your work, and has anything regarding you being a Fijian Canadian influenced your idea of professionalism at all in any sort of way?
That's a funny question. Definitely, being a Fijian Canadian specifically, if they're ever dealing with treating patients or any type of clients that are Fijian Canadian of the same descent, it automatically turns into a family feeling where they know your family somehow, or they're somehow connected to each other. And with given that, it also sometimes brings in treatment that they're asking for favors sometimes because they feel like we're closer together. And through a professional standpoint, it's universal precaution and standard. We treat everybody the same, with professionalism and the same ethics, and we try, regardless of their race or where they're coming from, we try to help them no matter what. And so, being Fijian Canadian specifically, we've also had the opposite, where people aren't as pleasant to work with if they come from the same, because they feel their past I guess relationships or just experiences with professionals of the same descent have gone sideways as well. So you get both of them, but being specifically Fijian Canadian, it's really a hit or miss with how people take it. Most of the time, with communication being number one, isn't the biggest issue. Unless you're dealing with someone who's Fijian Canadian as well. Yeah, and it happens. So it's quite frequent that would happen. There are even clients that search for specific providers who are Fijian Canadian, and they only want to work with them. Right? So it goes both ways, but really it's professionalism and ethics. Doesn't matter the demographic, doesn't matter the age or the culture or anything, should always be the standard. And so I just treat everybody the same like that. Yeah, and if there's a personal level that is still professional, but we talk about hometown, where our parents from, things like that, it's still okay. And I feel that brings the patient to be more comfortable. If anything, they're like, okay, I know that this person is from here or there, and that just makes them feel more comfortable. I'm okay with sharing that kind of information. So, and then it usually settles them. It usually makes them feel a little bit better as well. So. Yeah.
Okay, well, that in mind actually. So say in a situation where it's like, if there's a close friend or a community member who asked for a special discount or favor at your clinic because you share the same background, cultural background, how might you handle that situation in that sense?
So I would say that it's not because of the cultural background, and it's not because we share the same type of religion or culture or anything, but it would be more so professionally through ethics, trying to help them either way.
Yeah.
So if they did ask for a discount or they did want a break off something, then I would, if it's following the protocol and it's within our ethics, then I would offer that. And I would also say I would offer it either way, so they know that it's not just because of the profile or their heritage or anything. I would have offered it either way to them, whether they were of that background or not. So just to make that clear, and they always appreciate that. So.
Right. Okay. Have you ever felt pressure to adapt or downplay any part of your cultural identity to be in order to be seen as professional at work at all?
No, I don't think that would ever have to be an issue. If that was an issue so our staff members we're all diverse and we're comfortable with that. But if it came down to a client that did not, or a patient that did not appreciate specifically my background, then it would just be at the point where if we're not comfortable working with each other, you would find somebody who you're comfortable to work with. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily about race or culture. It can also just be about communication or work, the way we would do our work. But if they were to profile me in that way, then I'd always give them the option where they understand how I work, and if they don't want to work together, that's fine. And that has happened before, and I've had people that definitely have profiled me and did not want to do did not want to continue working with me, and that's totally fine. And I've also had that option where that happens and they end up coming back, and
Okay.
so they would see other professionals that they would try to work,
Yeah.
try to see if that would work for them, and then they would even come back and sometimes get an apology or say, okay, let's start over again because of that. So it's all about how, I guess, just all how you speak to somebody and if they would want to work with you or not, right? So yeah, that happens. It's frequent, and in terms of giving service and on to the next patient, we always want to make sure that that won't affect us at all.
Yeah.
So if someone is like that, and it does, we have some people who are not polite, or we have patients that are very unhappy at certain points, not necessarily to do with us or our team, but they bring that in with them. We don't want that clinic culture to change. So it's a reset every time. It's a reset every time somebody else comes in. And if they're having a bad day and you're not, or maybe it's not your best day, and we never want to translate that over to anybody. So we always try to keep it professional, but also keep it friendly and comfortable. So
That's good. Yeah. What helps you stay resilient or motivated when you encounter challenges or biases like you just talked about in your work?
external factors out of work. So family, friends, anything that would be a hobby. Yeah, so hobbies. So family and friends and hobbies, definitely. Disconnecting from work is important, and it's something that I don't know how to do yet. So I'm always like in the back of my brain, there's always something, or even if I'm disconnected, I'm subconsciously connected, and I can't let that go yet. I'm working on that part. So it's something I want to improve on, because when you're, for some reason, I feel like as the owner, I always need to be connected somehow, and I can't disconnect at all, no matter if I try or not. So I'm trying to work on that, where I can say, okay, everything is running well, and everything's efficient, scalable, it's run the way you want it to. Try to disconnect and enjoy yourself a little more. But it's tough when there's challenges there, because you're always thinking about the challenge. So when there's challenges or there's things that you're thinking about, it's even tougher. If when there's nothing wrong, you're still worried about something for some reason. And that's, I think, a new business perspective, like a new owner's business perspective. And I'm working on that. So I should say, if everything's fine, I should be able to disconnect and be all right.
That's good. How do you find, like, even with that in mind, like, the balance? Because I know it's really, really important having that external factor, then also the work, because that also kind of comes into play. It's still in the back of your head, like you talked about. Like, what are ways that you think you might be able to, like, adjust with that, or, like, if you are doing it now, like, what routes have you started to kind of initiate that in a sense?
So it's definitely my weakest point. Like, I feel like that's the biggest challenge for me, and I'm not balancing it out well. But now having a family and being able to kind of know what the priorities are, like, that's not work, and then kind of prioritizing yourself through that. But also now it's to the point where I've accepted that if there's a client or a patient that needs to be treated and wants to work with us, they are willing to wait. They're willing to wait and still work with someone that they're that comfortable with, rather than just going to a different practitioner that can get them in sooner. But that was my biggest worry before. People would say, oh, I don't want to have to wait a month to see a specialist here. I want to go to someone readily available. But now it's gotten to the point where people understand why they're waiting so long and what they're getting out of it. And I'm trying to let that sit a little bit more, saying, okay, if people really want to see me, then they're willing to wait now. And I don't need to work that extra amount and stay open really, really, really late and not come home to my family or dinner just because I'm treating more people. That's what I'm working on, to try to find that ground where I say, okay, this is my time. That's all the time I can give to this industry right now. I need to work on myself too. So that's the weakest factor right now, and I haven't gotten it straight.
Fair enough.
I haven't even gotten it close to where I want it to be. So
it's all good. It happens. All right. You have talked about this a little bit before, but just in more context, like, do you see yourself as as having a special role or responsibility in the Fijian community because of your work, for example, as a role model or someone people turn to for advice?
That's a little challenging for me, because I've always been the youngest in everything I've done. So no matter what it would be, from even when it comes to the dental schooling and everything, I've always been one of the youngest people. So I've always looked for people for advice, and looked for mentors, and looked for ways I can learn off of others. But I just think it's more recently now that I guess with age and just time in the industry where we're starting to get some more people that are wanting to um, just I guess get some more advice from people who are opening businesses or in the industry and culturally like Fijian specifically I haven't seen that really um, it's been quite diverse but and I haven't been too involved with the Fijian community specifically.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I don't know of anyone that's really um, close in a group that would ask me for anything like that. But I do see with age and experience that more more people would come with questions that they would want to know how that can help them if there's anything. So I haven't had too much of that experience yet. I've always been that person looking and asking, but now the nice thing is starting to get a little bit more of that now with age and time. So
Okay.
yeah.
Very cool. Um, have you ever felt the pressure from family or within the community of being Fijian about how you run your business? Say an expectation to like give back or help out, and if so, how do you manage those type of expectations?
I don't think I felt too pressured because of the Fijian community or any even family who are in there. I haven't felt the need to cater myself or my business toward a specific request. I've always kept standards for that and always kept kept a mindset on and a mission statement on this is how it will always be and I don't want to change my ethics or my beliefs for any of that. So I think specifically if it's a Fijian community or a family, they've always understood and kind of respected how their things were run and if there's improvements I'd take that into constructive criticism and improve, but I wouldn't have to change something that I feel someone would just ask me to change because of a certain reason, unless it made sense. But I've never had that pressure before, so I don't feel that, which is good. I know that the pressure when I was younger and looking for a profession was there from family and external and friends who were already into programs and already studying to become what they want to be. But once I was more into the industry and I knew that was the route that I'm going, I didn't feel too much pressure after that. So everyone kind of just let me be what I wanted to be when I knew what I wanted to be.
So you should.
Yeah.
It's really good. A little bit of a challenging question, but how do you express resilience and professionalism while navigating marginalization, whether that's racial or cultural, in your business, if it's occurred at all, or if it were to occur?
So can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Yeah. How do you express resilience and professionalism while navigating marginalization, either through racial or cultural, in your business, whether it's happened already or it's if it were to happen?
I think it is just keeping your own professionalism and ethics. So if there has been profiling or marginalization in any way, just not changing to cater to somebody who wants you to change or wants to see a certain side of you or aspect of you. It's keeping your beliefs, your standards, your ethics, and your morals and professionalism always, no matter what. So it doesn't matter who it would be or what they came in for if they asked me to do something different. If it doesn't match up with my ethics and my morals, then I wouldn't do that. So that's something that I've always kept in a very, very important professional versus friendly type of I guess neutral zone, where no matter what it would be or what someone would ask, I would always just keep that morals and ethics there. We've had multiple patients come in and ask for jobs or ask their kids ask for jobs or wanting to do their own work and use our equipment. And so these are all things that wouldn't be part of how our standards are and how I would run a clinic and how I wouldn't want them to, I wouldn't allow that to change anything, no matter how they asked or what they said. So I've always kept it to the professional ethics and my own standards. So haven't changed that for anybody. Yeah.
Really, really good answer. With that in mind, to elaborate, if there was a situation like this where a patient or colleague made an insensitive comment about your background or culture, how would you respond to that in that moment?
I wouldn't. First thing is I for sure wouldn't take it the wrong way and be aggressive or negative toward that. I would try to understand it better on maybe what they said they didn't mean it the right way, or maybe the communication was a barrier, or if they actually did mean what they said, and they felt that that was how they feel, then I would either one of two is address it, but address it professionally and say that it's not acceptable for me, and I wouldn't want to hear any type of other comments like that if we're going to continue working, and if we're going to continue treating that person, and if that person doesn't want to stop and continues to do that, then I'd probably terminate them as a patient, because isn't part of treating somebody, and you shouldn't have to. That shouldn't be something that you're worrying about on top of everything else. You should have that professional relationship with people and clients and patients, and if they are willing to work with you and be respectful, it goes both ways. So we respect them as much as they respect us, right? And so I would either give them the option of first trying to understand it better, and then if I don't understand it and it's actually they're meaning to say what they're saying, give them the option to keep working together and be more polite about it and just disregard anything to do with that, profiling or racial or anything about my background, or give them the opportunity that they don't have to be working with us anymore. So that hasn't happened, which is quite it's good. There's been a few instances where they had the opportunity to, and I gave them the option, and then they ended up just not coming back because they said, okay, he's not going to change for me, so that's fine, right? Or so yeah, it's happened a couple of times, but nothing to the degree where it's changed anything on our side there. So
amazing.
Yeah,
that's good. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in what ways does I would consider denturing like kind of like caregiving in a sense to like a patient become a tool for like representation within culture, pride, and community empowerment at all? If you see that,
it's a huge impact, huge, because you're definitely restoring function for people who just can't function, right? And when you're doing that, you're changing someone's life, whether it's their smile that they're really happy to smile for, or if it's someone who just hasn't ever been able to chew or eat because they haven't had teeth, or they haven't been functioning or chewing well. Being able to do that for people is the reason why we do this. So as the business and the industry and everything on the background, the number one thing is always the patient, and then being able to restore that function for them, and then being able to live, even if it's just not a long period of time, but they are still living day by day, and they get to experience that happiness of having a smile, or being able to eat or chew, or just feeling more self-confidence in them because of us helping them. For that is the main, it's the factor of why we do this. So that's the reason why I would always just that keeps me going. That's what I think of every single time, and that's why we try to treat as many people as we can and help as many people as we can. So being able to do that for anybody is a huge it's a good feeling to have. The day that they leave with a brand new smile is always one of the best feelings. So
100%. Yeah, and then you even talked to me earlier about it too, like how you involve like nonprofit organizations. Like that's amazing. Is there any other type of like organizations that you've helped, like that have come to you for like assistance in that sort?
Most of the nonprofits and some of the like SROs or halfway houses that have people with substance abusing and people who've lost their teeth because of those reasons, they've reached out, and we've always tried to help to our capacity where we can, but definitely we make room for that, because everyone deserves it. It's not just because you pay for it you get it. It's everyone deserves to be able to have that feeling of like a smile and being out there and being able to eat and chew and feel that good feeling of being able to show off your teeth.
That's so cute.
No, but yeah, so I think everyone deserves that, and that's why through the government programming and subsidizing and people's insurance and utilizing what we can for them, everybody I feel like a lot more people are in a better place because of that. We have people that have never had teeth, like they've had all their teeth taken out in their 20s or 30s because of hygiene or accidents or trauma, and now they're finally just getting their teeth after decades because they couldn't afford it, and now they're getting it subsidized with the government. So I definitely feel like since everyone should have that feeling, regardless of where you come from or what your hygiene is, what your background is. Everyone should feel like that at one point. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And that's really good. how did you guys manage to make that work? Did you like network reach out to them, or they reached out to you? Like, how does that come up in the first place? Because when you first started, I'm assuming it started later on, or did you start right away when you first opened the business?
For
For like contacting like these organizations,
nonprofits
and all that type of things. Yeah.
So nonprofits, they're quite accepting to people who want to help, like anyone who's willing to help. So I was introduced mutually through someone who's like, okay, he's brand new out of this program in school, and this would be a great starting point. And so that was introduced somewhere in the earlier times of when I first started out, and then I started there, and I got to know the community, the business, the people, and then they started. Once you talk to one, they will talk to another and say, you should have him come over once a week or twice a week and help out over here, and another place would ask me to come over there, and so I was on the road quite a bit, just kind of going around helping them, to the point where it got to the you could it's great to, if I could do that all the time, it'd be great, but you also, the nonprofit sector is just a small sector of the whole industry. So now being able to scale that, we've had to scale it back a little bit, but we're just being able to start like that is a huge thing, and people anywhere they're happy with the service, they'll definitely let others know. So that's how it went, and luckily it wasn't even heavy on having to go and like advertise myself or market myself who I am. People just kind of, you did good work at one place, and it kind of translates to everyone around, and so we still have people coming from there because they're just so happy with that service. So I didn't have to reach out too much. I didn't have to go searching for places or jobs or anything like that. People, once they know what you can do or what your capacity is, then if it fits, then they'll want you to be part of them. So yeah, so that's that was one route, but then I chose to try to manage it all, kind of take all of those factors and bring them into one clinic, or I guess multiple clinics now, but kind of try to bring all of that, all those factors on how to help people throughout different type of clinics.
Is it just in the Vancouver area, or like?
No, that'd be at all the clinics. All of our clinics.
Wow,
we work with nonprofits and anywhere that we can help with. At all the clinics, our locations. So one clinic they would know where our chain of clinics are, and then they would ask a different clinic, oh, do we have a nonprofit or any type of branch out in that location, and that we can send to this clinic. So it worked like that. But yeah, that was there's a lot of people. They also do quite well internally as well, just from what I've seen. So they try to do a lot themselves, but a lot of things that they can't, that they really need a specialist to look at. That's what we'll see most of the time. So, like today, when people came in, they really needed a specialist for that. Not anyone could just do a certain treatment like that. So that's when we see a lot more of those type of patients and clients from those areas.
That's awesome. Wow, that's amazing. All right. Can you share a moment in your career that made you especially proud to be a Fijian Canadian denturist?
Oh, Fijian Canadian denturist.
Could be more than one too, if anything.
Yeah.
So go for whatever.
Specifically a Fijian Canadian denturist. I think it would be. Oh, I need to look back now and think.
You got it all the time.
A moment that was proud to be. I think would be more so the small Fijian community that I do know, mostly through sports, like playing soccer in the Fiji League, or people knows of someone who knows of someone, who the word gets out, and then getting messages and congratulations, or even people reaching out to ask for help or ask for advice. That was probably what made me feel the best, when they're like, I can't believe that we've come so far, or you've done all of this over the years, and I was just playing sports with you when we were this young, or I was your coach, or my parents used to watch you, things like that. And all of them kind of seeing where you are now and being like, wow, especially even the Fijian community, who I guess they feel their own sense of, oh, if they're part of us and they've made it to this certain point of their career, I feel as proud that it's being acknowledged. So people even personally acknowledge it, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'd see somebody and I haven't seen them for years, but they know what I'm doing because they found out from someone to someone to someone." And it's not like we are heavy on social media or advertise a lot, and I don't market myself out there online too much. I try to keep it under a rock, which is not good, but I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to tell everybody
Yeah.
about everything. So I try to stay a little bit more quiet on things, but people who find out for the good reasons are always, it feels good that they reach out to me and they say, "Wow, I'm really proud or happy that you're at this certain point in your career." So because I got a lot of years to go.
Yeah.
Just for this to be at where I am right now feels good. It feels I feel really really accomplished for just where that is right now. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
What are some things like especially with your career, like where you're at now, like are you excited for in the future, like moving forward, especially being a Fijian Canadian denturist? Like what are you looking forward to?
I think, given how the experience I've had in the industry in terms of how lucrative it can be if you set things up, if you kind of structure the business and the clinic a certain way, you can definitely gain a lot through it, and I'm excited to bring that into other areas and maybe not open any more clinics, but have a team that is just doesn't need, I guess just doesn't need someone like me to always to be around it everywhere. Just kind of have a team that is self-sufficient and be able to serve the people the same with the same vision and mindset and mission statement and ethics and morals that I came with, and keeping that in each of the places for the communities. So if it is a Fijian community or if it's any type of demographic or cultural community, that they know that if they said that clinic name or my name anywhere, even if they didn't see me, that they would know what type of experience they're getting out of that. And they get through. That's what I hope for the future, where people can just go to the clinic and I'm not there, and they still know how they're gonna feel when they come in and out. And with a new business like that, it's really tough because it's kind of you're the name of it, so and you need to be there for people to feel that. But the longer you have a good supporting team and that you're with people, the more that kind of brushes off on people in a good way.
Yeah.
And then people can start feeling that and gaining that type of experience for everyone. So I really do hope for that in the future, that it won't necessarily need my involvement as much, but that feeling will always be there for everyone. So that'll be that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah. That's good. It'll come for sure. With that in mind too, now with that, let's say if you look back into the past, is there anything you would want to change, or would you leave it as it is, and why do you think that is for your career?
The way that it went, would I change anything? I would, to be honest, I would have said that I would have studied harder, but I studied as hard as I could. So because I wanted to understand everything about it. I can't say the same about electives before that. Like when I was just studying for felt like no reason, but no. So wouldn't be studying. Practice. I practiced as much as I could too. I don't regret the steps that it took. I don't really. I'm just thinking if I could change. It might have been just my comprehension and my understanding back then. I felt like I feel like I had a more younger mindset where I just didn't understand the structure as much as I do now, and so.
Okay.
But it also I think I would have appreciated a more mature mindset back then. I was more just thinking through student and thinking of what the next step is. Like, oh, once I finish this, I want this, and then once I finish that, it's that. But I always had an idea of what the long run would be. But I think if I structured it out, saying, okay, in this year and this year, my goal is for this, and then my short term goal, my long term goal, where I want to be, it could have been a little more clear. I know that I could have at least kind of even put it on a time lapse a little bit better, like a time spectrum, but I kind of just said when I was ready and when I felt like it is when I wanted to do it, and that's the route that I went. But that would be maybe the only thing I feel I would want to improve on, is just having a better, clear idea of when I wanted to get to this point. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, what message or advice would you give to other people of color or immigrant who want to start their own healthcare practice or even just a business in general?
I would say that first, the advice would be to learn how to learn in the industry like we were talking about, because I thought that I was learning dental terminology and dental how to do things, but I was just learning how to understand what the industry actually has to offer. So if you're learning how to learn to be part of the industry, and also taking as much as you can out of it, because you'll only get what you give. Like if you don't want to give it your all, then you're not going to get everything out of it. So you have to be more than committed and motivated and dedicated to being the best you can be at whatever that's going to be. And if you're not, then it's not gonna give you the same results that you want, because if you're not in it for the long term and wanting to make that your life, then you'll never feel as satisfied, as you'll always be questioning, oh, can I have done more or done better and put in more. So don't let that be a question later. Don't let that be a question later and say years later saying, can I have done more? Can I have given more? And would I be in a better place? Do it so you know that you did everything that you could at that time, and then you know that you tried everything that you could to get to where you want to be. Yeah, that would be probably the best way on how I would have thought of it back then, where I don't want to have any regrets now of that I could have done something better there. So, and specifically through immigrant families, specifically would be get that support from your surrounding loved ones and family and friends and whoever's out there. It may not be what they agree with, but their support is important. So if they don't agree with you but they support it, it's very different, but it will help you in the long run. Because if you're going against, there's disagreements and there's people who have different views all the time, but at least you feel like if anyone knows how committed you would be toward and motivated and dedicated, they'll support that because they know it's really, really for you and that's what you want. So have that support. It doesn't mean they have to agree with it, but they would want to support you for doing it. Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's important.
Is there any tools you would advise anyone that wants to do that they could take? Obviously moral support, but is there any other types of additional tools you think would be great
for what? For
a business or anything in general?
Oh, definitely. So don't jump in blind. You
Yeah.
have to be prepared, and preparation is the most important. You're only nervous when you're not prepared, right? And so you have to know what you're if it's opening a business specifically, you should know the full structure of opening a business, or find the resources, or find someone to hire, or find anyone who's willing to know the route that takes, so you don't have to make those mistakes on your own, right? You understood, and usually when you make a mistake or you regret something, it's because it could have been done differently, and it could have been done. Try to prevent that from happening, and mistakes are going to happen either way, but if you are prepared enough for finding the right resources to get to that goal, then do that. That would be the most important. And there's plenty of mistakes I made trying to open up things and that I wish I would have been back on and learned and understood more about, or found the right person for. So that would be huge. And if I went back to that question, that would be actually what I would do differently. Go back and find the right people and understand the structure of things before I wanted to get deeper into it. So that would be something I'd go back on, and opening business versus and things on understanding how the structure works. I could have done better understanding that. But that's what I would give to whoever would want any type of advice coming from an immigrant family like I did. So but I feel quite fortunate to where we are now in this day, and just where we're standing. It's everything. Our parents worked really hard to have us to be where we are now, so I don't want to make that any different for the next gen.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the end of the interview, so thank you for listening. Thank you for speaking about your experience. I really do appreciate it. So done.
That's good. I'd love to see how this all pans out in